The first time Philip Harris walked into the village, nobody knew he was a billionaire. They only saw a tall man with sunburnt skin, a faded shirt, and slippers that looked tired like his feet. His trousers had patches. His hands looked rough, like they had fought the ground for years. He carried a small hoe on his shoulder like it was part of his body. He walked slowly through the market road, not because he was weak, but because he was watching. Philip had lived in big cities. He had seen glass buildings that touched the clouds. He had eaten food that cost more than some people's yearly rent. He had sat in meetings where men spoke with pride and power. But none of those things gave him peace. None of them gave him love. All his life, people loved his money before they loved his heart. He had been engaged twice. The first woman cried and begged when he found out she was dating his driver behind his back. She said she was sorry. She said she was confused. But Philip didn't cry. He only felt cold. The second woman was worse. She didn't even hide it. She told him straight. "I'm not marrying you because of love," she said, smiling like it was normal. "I'm marrying you because you can give me the life I deserve." That night, Philip sat alone in his big house. The silence was loud. His mother's picture on the wall looked at him like she was worried even from the grave. That was the night he decided. He would hide. He would remove everything that made people bow before him. He would dress like a nobody. He would live like a poor farmer. He would go far from the city and find a woman who could love him when he had nothing. Not when he had cars. Not when he had companies. Not when he had money. When he had nothing but his heart. That was how this village became his test. He rented a small old house behind a broken fence. He told the landlord he was a farmer coming to start life again. The landlord looked at his clothes and believed him quickly. In the village, people judged you with their eyes before they judged you with their ears. Philip went to the farmland the next morning. He paid some boys to show him where to cultivate. He bought seeds. He dug the soil. He planted. But while he planted crops, he was also planting another thing. A question. Who will love me when I look like this? Within 2 weeks, the village already had a name for him. Poor Philip. They said it with laughter, like poverty was a joke. Some women pitied him. Some mocked him. Many ignored him. Philip did not care. He had expected that. What he didn't expect was how quickly the village girls would try to use him. One evening, he walked into the village square and saw some girls sitting under a mango tree. They were laughing loudly, chewing sugarcane, and looking at every man that passed like they were picking meat in a market. Philip greeted them politely. "Good evening," he said. The girls looked at him from head to toe. One of them, a pretty girl with shiny skin and expensive hair, laughed first. "Good evening," she replied slowly, dragging her words. "Farmer." The others laughed. Philip smiled gently. "My name is Philip. I'm new here." The pretty girl rolled her eyes. "We know. You are the one that rented old Mama Dyke's house." "Yes," Philip said. She leaned forward. "So what do you want?" Philip's voice stayed calm. "I want to know you." The laughter that followed was louder than before. "Know me," the pretty girl shouted, holding her stomach. "Do you have money to know me?" "I have respect," Philip answered. That made them laugh even more. A girl with long nails hissed, "Respect does not buy phone. Respect does not buy wig." Another added, "Respect does not buy rice." Philip held his smile, but his chest tightened. He had seen mockery before, but this one cut deeper because it came from people who didn't even know his heart. The pretty girl stood up and walked closer, looking at his slippers. "Philip," she said, her voice sweet but cruel, "let me advise you. Don't fall in love in this village, especially with girls like us. Go and fall in love with your farm." They burst into laughter again. Philip nodded slowly. "All right." He turned and walked away. As he walked, he heard them still laughing behind him. Imagine. A poor farmer wants love. Which love? Philip did not look back, but his eyes burned. That night, in his small room, he sat on the bed and stared at the wall. He asked himself, is it really possible? Will I ever find someone? Then he remembered his mother's words from long ago. If you want true love, look for a true heart, not a fine face. The next morning, Philip went to fetch water from the stream. He carried his bucket like every other man. On the way, he saw a girl by the roadside. She was washing clothes in a basin. Her wrapper was old. Her blouse was faded. Her hair was not done. Dust covered her feet, and her hands looked tired. She looked like someone life had pushed down many times. But her eyes were soft. She lifted her head and saw Philip. She quickly stood and greeted him with respect. "Good morning, sir." Philip paused. Nobody had called him sir in that village before. Not with respect. Not like that. "Good morning," he replied. "What's your name?" The girl swallowed before answering. "Lucy." Philip looked at her properly. Lucy. She didn't look like the girls under the mango tree. She didn't look proud. She didn't look like someone who enjoyed mocking others. She looked quiet. Philip did not speak again after Lucy told him her name. He stood there for a moment, holding his bucket, looking at her like someone who had seen something rare, but didn't want to frighten it away. Lucy felt his eyes on her and became shy. She bent down and continued washing the clothes in her basin. The water splashed gently. The sound was calm. Philip cleared his throat. "You are washing very early," he said. Lucy nodded. "Yes, sir. If I don't finish early, the sun will be too hot." Philip smiled faintly. "You work hard." Lucy laughed softly, but there was no pride in it. "I don't have a choice." That answer stayed with Philip. Most people he knew worked because they wanted more. Lucy worked because she needed to survive. Philip dipped his bucket into the stream. As he pulled it out, the water spilled and wet his leg. Lucy noticed immediately. "Sorry, sir," she said quickly, like it was her fault. Philip was surprised. "Why are you apologizing?" Lucy hesitated. "I thought maybe I distracted you." Philip shook his head. "No, you didn't." There was a small silence between them. Not the awkward kind. The quiet kind that feels safe. Philip lifted the bucket and adjusted it on his head. Lucy watched him struggle slightly. "Let me help you," she said. Before he could refuse, Lucy stepped closer and held the bucket steady while he balanced it properly. Her hands were thin, rough, but gentle, like this, she said softly. Philip felt something tighten in his chest. Not pain, something warmer. "Thank you," he said. Lucy nodded and returned to her washing. She did not ask him for anything. She did not flirt. She did not laugh at him. She did not look at his slippers or his patched trousers. She treated him like a human being. As Philip walked away, he turned once to look back. Lucy was still washing clothes. Focused, quiet, real. That night, Philip could not sleep. He lay on his bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the night sounds of the village. Crickets, distant voices. Lucy's face kept coming to his mind, not because she was beautiful, but because she was kind without trying. The next day, Philip passed by the same place again. Lucy was there. This time, she was spreading clothes on a line. One of the clothes slipped and fell into the dust. Lucy picked it up, dusted it carefully, and sighed. Philip greeted her. "Good morning, Lucy." She looked up surprised. Her face brightened a little. "Good morning, sir." "You don't have to call me sir," Philip said gently. "My name is Philip." Lucy smiled shyly. "All right, Philip." Hearing his name from her lips felt different. They talked a little that morning. Not much. Just small things. About the weather. About farming. About how hard life was in the village. Lucy told him she never went to school. "My parents couldn't afford it," she said simply. "So I learned how to work." There was no bitterness in her voice. Just truth. Philip wanted to say many things, but he kept quiet. Some truths need silence, not words. As days passed, Philip found reasons to pass by Lucy's house. Sometimes he brought vegetables from his farm. Sometimes he just greeted her and left. The village began to notice. Some women laughed. Poor Philip has found his match. Two poor people. Lucy heard the whispers. She pretended not to care, but at night she cried quietly on her mat. Philip did not rush his heart. Even though Lucy's kindness stayed with him, he did not move close to her. He greeted her when he passed. Sometimes they talked for a few minutes. Sometimes they only smiled at each other. Nothing more. Philip wanted to be sure. He wanted to see the village clearly. He wanted to feel the truth fully. Love was not something he wanted to touch with dirty hands or confused mind. But there was someone else in the village everyone talked about. Her name was Mandy. Mandy was not just beautiful. She was proud of it. Her skin always shined. Her clothes were always clean and expensive. Her hair was never rough. Even when the sun was hot, Mandy looked like she had just stepped out of a cool room. Her parents were the richest people in the village. They owned lands. They owned shops. They owned houses. When Mandy walked, people noticed. When she talked, people listened. When she laughed, other girls wished they were her. Philip noticed her too. Not because she was beautiful, but because she represented something. Philip wanted to test something deeper. He watched how Mandy treated people. He saw how she ignored greetings from poor men. He saw how she smiled only when someone looked important. He saw how her laughter changed when rich visitors came. Still, Philip decided to try. One evening, Philip washed himself carefully. He wore his cleanest shirt. He brushed his hair. He stood in front of his small mirror for a long time, looking at himself. He whispered, "This is also part of the test." He walked to Mandy's house slowly. Her father's compound was wide and clean. The gate was painted. Flowers stood proudly by the walls. Philip's slippers made a small sound as he entered, and immediately, eyes turned toward him. Mandy was sitting outside with two friends. When she saw Philip, her smile faded. "Yes," she asked coldly. Philip greeted respectfully. "Good evening." Her friends exchanged looks. "What do you want?" Mandy asked again, her voice sharp. Philip swallowed. His heart beat hard, but he stood straight. "I came to talk to you," he said. "If you will allow me." Mandy laughed once. Short, dry. "Talk," she repeated. "About what?" Philip took a breath. "I like you. I have watched you. I respect you. I want to marry you." Silence. Then laughter. Not soft laughter. Loud laughter. Her friends laughed first. Mandy joined them. She laughed so hard she had to hold her stomach. "Marry me?" Mandy shouted. "You." Philip felt heat rise to his face, but he did not move. Before Mandy could say more, her mother stepped out of the house. "What is going on here?" she asked. Mandy pointed at Philip like he was dirt. "This poor farmer says he wants to marry me." Her mother looked Philip up and down slowly, very slowly. Then she smiled. Not a kind smile. "Marry my daughter," she said. "With what?" Philip answered calmly, "With love and hard work." That made her laugh. At that moment, Mandy's father came out too. He did not laugh. He looked angry. "You," he said, pointing at Philip, "what is your name?" "Philip," he replied. The man shook his head. "Philip in poverty. That is your name." People had gathered by then. Villagers stood by the gate, listening. "You are a poor farmer," Mandy's father continued, "and poverty is your second name. Nothing good will ever come out of you." Philip's chest felt tight. "Look at yourself," Mandy's mother added. "My daughter deserves cars, houses, comfort. Not a man who smells like soil." Mandy stood up and walked close to Philip. Her eyes were cold. "Don't ever come near me again," she said. "Don't even greet me. I don't talk to poor farmers." Her father raised his voice. "If you step near my daughter again, I will deal with you." The words cut deep. Philip nodded slowly. "I understand," he said quietly. He turned and walked away. Behind him, laughter followed. Imagine, a poor farmer dreaming big. That one wants to marry Mandy. Philip walked until the sounds faded. When he reached his small house, he sat down on the floor. He did not cry, but his chest hurt like something had broken. That night, he stared at the darkness and whispered to himself, "So this is how they see me." After what happened at Mandy's house, Philip changed. Not on the outside. Inside. He still went to the farm every morning. He still wore the same clothes. He still greeted people politely. But something in his eyes became quieter, heavier, like a man who had swallowed pain and decided not to talk about it. The village did not let him forget. Everywhere he passed, people whispered, "That is the one that wanted to marry Mandy. Poverty wanted to enter wealth. Does he even know his place?" Philip heard it all. He acted like he didn't. But every word followed him home at night. Lucy noticed. She noticed because she also knew pain. One afternoon, Philip sat on a fallen tree near the stream, resting after working on the farm. His shoulders were bent. His head was down. Lucy was passing with a small basin on her head when she saw him. She stopped. "Good afternoon, Philip," she said softly. Philip looked up and forced a small smile. "Good afternoon, Lucy." Lucy hesitated. Then she asked gently, "Are you okay?" Philip wanted to say yes, but the word refused to come out. "I'm fine," he finally said, but his voice betrayed him. Lucy did not argue. She did not push. She simply put her basin down and sat on a stone nearby, keeping some distance. They stayed quiet for a while. The stream flowed. Birds chirped. Then Lucy spoke. "I heard what they said," she said. Philip's body stiffened slightly. "What did they say?" Lucy looked at her hands. "About Mandy. About you." Philip laughed softly without joy. "The whole village knows." Lucy nodded. "Yes." Another silence. Then Lucy said something small, but heavy. "You didn't deserve that." Philip looked at her. Nobody had said that to him. "They said I'm nothing," he replied. "Maybe they are right." Lucy shook her head immediately. "No." She raised her eyes and looked at him fully. "A person is not nothing because he is poor." Her voice was calm, but strong. Philip felt something move inside him. From that day, something changed between them. Not love, understanding. They began to talk more. Still careful, still respectful, still slow. Sometimes Philip helped Lucy fetch water. Sometimes Lucy helped Philip wash vegetables from his farm. Sometimes they only sat near each other and talked about life. Lucy told him about her parents. "They wanted to send me to school," she said one evening, "but sickness took their money." After that, there was nothing left. Philip listened. Philip told her about the farm. "How the soil is stubborn," he said. "But if you are patient, it gives back." Lucy smiled. Like people. They laughed softly, but the village was watching. And the village did not like what it saw. Look at them. Two poor people joining forces. Poverty and dirt. Women mocked Lucy openly. "Is Philip your husband now? Did he buy you with cassava?" Men laughed at Philip. "So you settled for that dirty girl? Is she your level now?" Philip tried to ignore it. Lucy pretended she didn't hear. But words are not stones. They still bruise. One day, Lucy returned home crying. A woman had called her a wasted life in the market. Another day, Philip was told he and Lucy looked like two failures walking together. That night, Philip could not sleep. He walked to Lucy's house and stood outside, unsure if he should knock. Lucy opened the door before he did. "I couldn't sleep," she said. "Neither could you." They sat outside on a low bench. The moon was full. "Lucy," Philip said slowly, "if being close to me brings you pain, I will understand if you want to stop." Lucy looked at him. Her eyes were wet but steady. "People have always talked," she replied, "even when I was alone. At least now I am not alone." Philip felt his throat tighten. He nodded. "Then let us walk slowly." Lucy smiled through tears. Yes, slowly. Life in the village did not soften because Philip and Lucy chose to walk together. It became harder. The village now had a new joke. Philip and Lucy. They were no longer mocked separately. They were mocked together. When Philip passed alone before, people laughed behind him. Now they laughed in front of him. They laughed louder because Lucy was beside him. See them. Perfect match. Poverty married poverty. Lucy heard it all. Some days she stayed strong. Other days she broke inside. One afternoon in the market, Lucy bent to pick tomatoes that had fallen from her basket. A woman beside her shook her head. "Leave it," the woman said loudly. "Even the ground knows your level." People laughed. Lucy's hands trembled as she gathered the tomatoes. Her eyes burned, but she did not cry there. She carried her basket and walked away quietly. Philip heard about it later. It pained him more than his own humiliation. That evening, Philip met Lucy by the stream. She was sitting alone, drawing lines in the sand with a stick. He sat beside her, not touching her. "I heard," he said softly. Lucy nodded without looking up. "They never get tired," she replied. Philip swallowed. "I'm sorry." Lucy looked at him then. "Why?" "Because if not for me." Lucy stopped him gently. "Don't say that. I have always been mocked. Before you. With you. It's not your fault." Her words were kind, but Philip still felt heavy. That night, Philip worked late on his farm. He dug the soil harder than usual. His hands hurt, but he welcomed the pain. Pain in the body was easier than pain in the heart. As he rested under a tree, he remembered Mandy's words. Philip and poverty. That is your name." He clenched his fist. Lucy also lay awake that night. Her parents noticed she had grown quieter. "Lucy," her mother asked gently, "are you okay?" Lucy nodded. "Yes, Mama." But her heart was tired. The next day, rain fell suddenly. Philip was caught on the farm. Lucy was coming back from the stream when she saw him running for cover. She called out, "Philip, come here." They stood under a small shed together, rain pouring heavily around them. For a moment, they just listened to the rain. Lucy laughed softly. "The rain doesn't know rich or poor." Philip smiled. "It falls on everyone." Their eyes met, not with desire, with understanding. From that day, they became more open with each other. Still slow, still careful. They shared food sometimes. Simple food. Boiled yam, roasted corn. Nothing fancy. Philip never touched Lucy wrongly. Lucy never crossed boundaries. But trust was growing. The village noticed again. This one and that one. They will soon marry. They don't even have money for soap. One evening, as Philip and Lucy walked home, Mandy passed them with her friends. She stopped. "So this is what you settled for?" Mandy said, looking at Philip. "A dirty village girl." Lucy lowered her head. Philip stepped slightly forward. "Please leave us alone." Mandy laughed. "Protecting her now. Poor farmer." She looked at Lucy. "If you like, follow him. Poverty is your destiny anyway." Lucy felt tears rise. But Philip did not shout. He did not fight. He simply held Lucy's hand. Just for a moment. That small act shocked everyone. Lucy looked up, surprised. Philip released her hand quickly, but the message stayed. Philip did not speak about marriage quickly. After holding Lucy's hand that day, he became even more careful. He feared breaking something fragile. He feared rushing what life itself was slowly building. Lucy also noticed the change. Philip now paused before speaking. He chose his words slowly, like someone walking on weak ground. Sometimes he would open his mouth and close it again. Lucy did not ask why. One evening, Lucy was roasting corn outside her parents' house. The fire was low. The sky was quiet. Philip passed by and greeted her parents politely, as he always did. "Good evening, sir." "Good evening, Philip," her father replied. Philip stood there for a moment, then cleared his throat. "I came to talk, if you don't mind." Lucy's heart skipped. Her parents exchanged a look. "Sit," her mother said gently. Philip sat on a low stool. Lucy remained by the fire, her hands shaking slightly as she turned the corn. There was silence. Then Philip spoke. "I know I am poor," he began. "I know I don't have much. And I know people talk." Lucy's father raised his hand gently. "We know all that." Philip swallowed. "I don't want to promise what I don't have, but I promise hard work, respect, and care." Lucy's mother looked at him closely. "Why are you saying this?" Philip lifted his eyes slowly. "I want to marry Lucy." The words hung in the air. Lucy's hands froze. Her heart pounded so loud, she was sure everyone could hear it. Her father leaned back. He did not speak immediately. Philip continued, his voice low but steady. "I won't lie to you. Life with me will not be easy. But I will not shame her. I will not raise my hand on her. I will not abandon her." Lucy's mother wiped her hands on her wrapper. "She has suffered enough," she said quietly. "People already mock her." Philip nodded. "I know. And they will mock me too." Lucy finally spoke, her voice trembling. "Mama, Papa." Her father looked at her. "Do you want this?" Lucy hesitated. Then she nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "I do." Her father sighed deeply. It sounded like years leaving his chest. "Philip," he said, "we are poor. We don't look for money in marriage. We look for peace." Philip bowed his head. "If you can give her peace," her father continued, "then we agree." Lucy's eyes filled with tears. Her mother nodded slowly. "We agree." Philip's hands trembled. "Thank you," he said softly. "I will not disappoint you." That night, Lucy could not sleep. Not because of fear, but because hope felt heavy too. When the village heard the news, laughter followed quickly. "So they are marrying now? With what money?" "Wedding of poverty." Mandy laughed openly when she heard. "She really married her level," she said. Lucy heard everything. Philip heard everything. But this time they did not step back. They began preparations slowly. The wedding was simple. Too simple for the village. Philip wore a clean shirt and trousers that Lucy helped him wash the night before. Lucy wore a plain dress. It was not new. It was not fancy. But it was clean and she felt beautiful in it. There was no music band. No big tent. Just a small gathering in front of Lucy's parents' house. As people gathered, laughter came with them. Is this wedding or meeting? See the groom. Poverty from head to toe. Lucy, you try oh. You marry hunger. Mandy came late, as always. She arrived with her friends, dressed like they were attending a festival. She looked around and laughed loudly. This is the wedding everyone was talking about, she said. I thought it would be worse, but it's actually funny. Her friends laughed. Lucy's hands shook as she stood beside Philip. Her eyes dropped to the ground. Philip noticed. He moved a little closer to her. Not touching, just close enough for her to feel him. When the elders spoke words of blessing, people whispered instead of listening. When Lucy and Philip exchanged simple vows, some people laughed openly. Forever with poverty. May hunger not kill love. Mandy clapped sarcastically. Congratulations, she said loudly. I hope love can cook food. Lucy's eyes burned with tears, but she did not cry. Philip said nothing. After the wedding, people left quickly. No celebration. No joy from the village. That night, Lucy cried quietly. Philip held her hand and said only one thing. Hold on. 1 month later, Philip told Lucy they were traveling. To where? She asked softly. To the city, he replied. Lucy was afraid. What will we do there? Philip smiled gently. Work. Live. Breathe. The night before they left the village, Philip did not sleep. Lucy slept beside him, facing the wall, her breathing soft and uneven. Philip watched her quietly for a long time. He studied her face the way a man studies something precious he is afraid of breaking. When she finally slept deeply, Philip rose gently from the mat and stepped outside. The night was quiet. He took out his phone. He had not used it like this since he came to the village. He dialed a number. Tomorrow morning, he said quietly, be ready. There was respect on the other end. Yes, sir. Do exactly what I told you, Philip continued. No noise. No delay. Yes, sir. Philip ended the call and stood there for a moment, breathing in the village air one last time. At dawn, Lucy woke up early. She packed the little things they owned. 2 bags, clothes folded neatly. Nothing heavy. When they stepped outside, the village was already awake. As they walked toward the roadside, Mandy and her friends were there, as usual, laughing and talking loudly like they owned the road. Mandy noticed them first. She laughed and pointed. Going to suffer in the city now, she shouted. One of her friends added, don't come back begging, oh. Laughter followed. Lucy's hands tightened around her bag. Philip did not stop. He did not answer. He simply held Lucy's hand and walked forward. They entered the bus quietly. As the bus moved, Lucy sat by the window. She rested her forehead lightly against the glass. Trees passed by. Houses disappeared. The village slowly faded behind her. Her chest felt tight. All her life, she had known only that village. Its voices, its mockery, its small roads, its watching eyes. Now she was leaving, with a man she loved. Tears rolled quietly down her cheeks, not from fear, but from the weight of change. Philip noticed but did not ask. Some feelings need silence, not questions. When they reached the city, Lucy froze. The buildings were tall. The roads were wide. People walked past them without looking twice. Nobody stared. Nobody whispered. Everyone was minding their business. Lucy turned slowly, her eyes full of wonder. This place, she whispered. It doesn't look at people. Philip smiled faintly. Yes. They stood by the roadside for a moment, unsure where to go next. Philip shifted slightly and took out his phone. He made a call. Now, he said simply. Within minutes, luxury cars stopped in front of them. Black. Shining. Men in black suits stepped out. They stood in a straight line and bowed. Good morning, sir. Lucy froze. Her heart skipped so hard it almost hurt. She turned to Philip, her voice shaking. Philip, who are they? Philip looked at her face, the fear, the confusion, the trust. He smiled gently. Please, he said softly, enter the car. Lucy shook her head slightly. I don't understand. You will, Philip replied. I promise. The men opened the car doors. Lucy hesitated. I'm scared, she whispered. Philip held her hand firmly. You are safe, he said, and I will tell you everything when we get home. He entered the car first, then gently pulled her in beside him. The door closed quietly, and for the first time in her life, Lucy rode forward into a truth she never imagined. The car moved smoothly through the city. Lucy sat quietly beside Philip, her back straight, her hands folded tightly on her lap. Everything inside her felt unsure. The seat was soft. The air was cool. The windows showed a world she had never lived in. Tall buildings passed by. Big gates. Quiet roads. Nobody shouted her name. Nobody mocked her clothes. Nobody laughed. She stole glances at Philip. He looked calm. The same man who carried a hoe. The same man who slept on a mat. But now men bowed to him. Now cars waited for him. Her chest tightened. After a long drive, the car slowed and stopped before a large gate. It opened quietly. The car moved in. Lucy's breath caught. The house before her was not loud. It was not shining like the ones she imagined in stories. It was calm, wide, clean, solid. The car stopped. The door was opened for them. Philip stepped out first, then turned and held Lucy's hand. Come, he said gently. Lucy stepped down slowly, her legs weak. They walked inside. The house was quiet. Philip led her to a sitting room and asked her to sit. He sat opposite her, not close, not far. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Philip breathed in deeply. Lucy, he said softly, I did not lie to you. Lucy nodded. I know. But I did not tell you everything, he continued, because I was afraid. Afraid of what? She asked. Afraid that you would love me for who I am, not for who I pretended to be. Lucy's eyes filled slowly. Philip stood up and walked to her, then knelt in front of her. I am Philip Harris, he said. I own companies, farms, houses. I came to the village because I was tired of fake love. Lucy's heart pounded. And I stayed, he added, because of you. Tears rolled down her face. You married a poor farmer, Philip continued. You stood with me when people laughed. That is why I know your heart. Lucy cried openly now. I thought I was dreaming, she whispered. Philip held her hands. You are not. Days passed slowly. Philip did not change Lucy, that he did not rush her. He let her learn the city at her own pace. He let her choose her clothes. He let her speak when she was ready. 1 year passed. Lucy was no longer the village girl people laughed at. Time had touched her gently. Her steps became confident. Her voice became calm. Her beauty did not shout, but it glowed like the morning sun that does not beg to be noticed. Philip did not change Lucy with force. He changed her life with patience. He encouraged her. He listened to her. He respected her. Lucy learned. She grew. She healed. One evening, as they sat together in their quiet home, Philip spoke gently. Lucy, he said, I want us to travel. Lucy looked at him. Where? To your village, he replied. To see your parents. Lucy's heart skipped. My village, she asked softly. Philip nodded. It's time. The journey back was calm. When their cars entered the village road, people stopped what they were doing. They stared. Luxury cars. Black suits. Quiet confidence. Then they saw her. Lucy. Walking beside Philip. Her head raised. Her step steady. Her smile peaceful. The village froze. Whispers filled the air. That is Lucy? Is that the poor farmer's wife? Mandy stood among them. Her heart dropped. The Philip she was seeing now was not the man she mocked. He was calm. He was powerful. He was respected. Regret washed over her like cold water. Lucy's parents came out slowly. When they saw their daughter, they could not speak. Tears fell. They held her. They cried openly. My child, her mother whispered, God has done this. Philip stood quietly, watching. That same week, Philip brought Lucy's parents to the city. He bought them a beautiful house. Clean, peaceful, safe. Lucy cried when she saw it. She held Philip and could not speak for a long time. Back in the village, those who mocked Lucy now avoided her name. Shame followed them. Mandy stayed awake many nights, blaming herself.